Before the Big Bang, there was no time, no space, no matter, no energy, no up, no down, no yesterday, no tomorrow. These words are almost impossible for the human brain to process because every single thing we have ever experienced exists inside space and time. So when scientists say before the Big Bang, they are asking a question that sounds like nonsense. Before the beginning of everything, what could possibly be there? The answer, according to some of the smartest physicists in history, might be nothing. Not empty space. Because empty space is still something. Space itself has properties. It can bend. It can stretch. It can ripple with gravitational waves. No, we are talking about absolute nothing.
No dimensions. No particles.
No laws of physics.
No mathematics.
No potential.
No possibility.
Nothing at all. But here is the terrifying and beautiful question. Can nothing actually exist? And if nothing existed before the Big Bang, how did something come from it? Let us start at the beginning. Or rather, let us start at the edge of what we know. In the 1920s, astronomer Edwin Hubble made a discovery that shattered the old view of the universe. He looked at distant galaxies and noticed something strange. They were all moving away from us. And the farther away they were, the faster they were moving. This meant one thing. The universe is expanding. If the universe is expanding today, that means yesterday it was smaller. A year ago, smaller still. 1,000,000 years ago, much smaller. If you rewind this cosmic movie all the way back, you eventually reach a point where everything in the universe was compressed into an infinitely small, infinitely dense, infinitely hot point. Scientists call this a singularity. And the moment it began expanding is what we call the Big Bang. But here is the critical detail that most people miss. The Big Bang was not an explosion that happened somewhere in space. It was an explosion of space itself. There was no center. There was no outside. The universe did not expand into empty space. Space itself was created at the Big Bang, which means there was no before in the way we normally think about it. This leads us to a famous physicist named Stephen Hawking. Hawking argued that asking what came before the Big Bang is like asking what is north of the North Pole. The North Pole is the northernmost point on Earth. There is nothing north of it because north itself stops existing there. Similarly, Hawking said, time begins at the Big Bang. There is no before because time did not exist. The question itself is meaningless. But not everyone agrees with Hawking. Some physicists believe that time did exist before the Big Bang. They just need to figure out what that means. One of the most popular scientific ideas about what came before the Big Bang is called the Big Bounce. This theory suggests that our universe is not the first universe. Instead, the universe goes through infinite cycles of death and rebirth. A previous universe collapsed under its own gravity in what is called the Big Crunch. Then, instead of disappearing, it bounced back in a new Big Bang, creating our universe. In this model, before the Big Bang was a collapsing universe. That universe had galaxies and stars and planets. Maybe it even had life. But all of that was crushed down to a singularity before bouncing back out. If the Big Bounce is correct, then there was never a first moment. The universe has always been bouncing. Forever. No beginning. No end. Just infinite cycles. The Big Bounce is beautiful because it eliminates the need for a creation event. But it has a major problem. Current measurements show that our universe is not just expanding. It is expanding faster and faster. This is caused by a mysterious force called dark energy. If dark energy continues to accelerate the expansion, the universe will never collapse. It will expand forever, becoming cold, dark, and empty. That means no Big Crunch.
No bounce.
Just a slow heat death. So if the universe cannot bounce, what else could have existed before the Big Bang? Another extraordinary idea comes from string theory. String theory suggests that our three-dimensional universe is like a membrane floating in a higher dimensional space. Physicists call this membrane a brane. In this theory, our brane universe is not alone. There are other branes floating nearby. Sometimes, these branes collide. When two branes smash into each other, the energy of that collision is so enormous that it creates a Big Bang. A new universe is born. In this model, before our Big Bang was another brane drifting through higher dimensional space. That brane had no time as we know it. No stars.
No atoms.
Just a flat, silent membrane waiting to collide. This theory is called the ekpyrotic universe, from the Greek word for conflagration or fire. It suggests that the Big Bang was not the beginning of everything. It was just the beginning of our universe. What came before was a cold, dark, infinite void of higher dimensions. And what caused the collision? That remains a mystery. Now let us move into even stranger territory. The idea of nothing. What if before the Big Bang, there was literally nothing? No space. No time.
No brañes.
No previous universe. Just pure, absolute nothing. Can science even describe that? Remarkably, yes. Quantum physics has something to say about nothing. In the everyday world, nothing is just empty space. But empty space is not truly empty. It is filled with quantum fields. These fields fluctuate constantly. Particles pop into existence and vanish in fractions of a second. This is called quantum foam or vacuum fluctuations. So even what we call empty space is actually a boiling soup of virtual particles. But before the Big Bang, there was no space. So there were no quantum fields.
No vacuum. No fluctuations.
That is a much deeper nothing. Physicists call this the quantum vacuum or the ground state of reality. And here is the mind-bending part. Some physicists have calculated that this absolute nothing is actually unstable. Think of it like a pencil balanced on its tip. The pencil is in an unstable state. The tiniest push, even a quantum fluctuation, will make it fall. Similarly, absolute nothing might be unstable. It might be possible for a tiny quantum fluctuation to spontaneously create a tiny bubble of space and time. That bubble would then expand rapidly. In other words, the Big Bang could have been a quantum fluctuation from nothing. No cause.
No creator.
Just the inherent instability of nothing itself. The physicist Lawrence Krauss wrote an entire book about this called A Universe from Nothing. He argues that we do not need a God or a previous universe to explain existence. Nothing, it turns out, is not as stable as we thought. Given enough nothing, or perhaps given any nothing at all, a universe will eventually pop into existence. We are living inside that bubble right now. But this raises an even deeper question. Where did the laws of physics come from? Even the quantum fluctuation idea relies on mathematics, on probability, on the laws of quantum mechanics. Those laws had to exist before the Big Bang. So where did they come from? Some physicists take a radical position. They say that mathematics is not invented. It is discovered. Mathematical truths exist outside of space and time. 2 + 2 = 4 whether or not there is a universe to contain that fact. In this view, before the Big Bang, the laws of mathematics and physics simply existed. They were not anywhere. They were not anytime. They just were. This is called mathematical Platonism. It suggests that reality has a timeless, spaceless foundation of abstract rules. And one of those rules is that nothing is unstable. So the laws of physics caused the Big Bang to happen. Not as a choice. Not as an event. But as a logical necessity, like gravity pulling an apple down. Before the Big Bang, there was no apple and no gravity. But there was the rule that says if gravity and apples exist, they will interact. Now, let us consider an even stranger possibility from quantum gravity. Some theories suggest that time itself might be an illusion. What if the universe is not a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end? What if all moments in time exist simultaneously, like frames in a movie reel? This is called the block universe theory. In this view, there is no flow of time. The Big Bang did not happen in the past. It simply exists at one end of the block. And your birth exists somewhere else. And your death exists somewhere else. All equally real. All equally present. If the block universe is correct, then asking what came before the Big Bang is like asking what is to the left of the leftmost point on a line. The answer is nothing. But not nothing in the sense of empty space. Nothing in the sense of non-existence. There is no left of the leftmost point. There is no before the first moment. Time simply begins there. What about religion and philosophy? For thousands of years, humans have wrestled with this question. The ancient Greeks asked, why is there something rather than nothing? The medieval philosopher Thomas Aquinas argued that there must be an uncaused cause, a being that exists outside of time and space that started everything. Many people call this God. Science cannot prove or disprove God. But science can say something about the necessity of a creator. If the Big Bang happened from nothing naturally, without any external cause, then a creator is not required. But if the laws of physics themselves needed to be designed, then something outside physics must exist. This debate is not settled. It may never be settled. So where does that leave us? We have explored several possibilities. First, Stephen Hawking's view that time began at the Big Bang, so there is no before. Second, the Big Bounce, where a previous universe collapsed and rebounded. Third, the ekparodic universe, where two higher dimensional membranes collided. Fourth, the quantum fluctuation from absolute nothing. Fifth, the block universe where time is an illusion. And finally, the theological view that an uncaused creator started everything. Which one is correct? The honest answer is that we do not know. And that is the most exciting part. Every single one of these theories makes testable predictions. Some predict that we should see gravitational waves from before the Big Bang imprinted on the cosmic microwave background. Others predict that dark energy should behave in a specific way. Scientists are building detectors and telescopes right now to test these ideas. The James Webb Space Telescope is looking deeper into the past than ever before. It is seeing galaxies that formed only a few 100 million years after the Big Bang. If those galaxies show patterns that do not match our models, we may need a new theory of what came before. Similarly, gravitational wave observatories like LIGO are listening for echoes of the Big Bang itself. If they hear something, the Big Bounce might win the day. For now, the origin of the universe remains the greatest mystery in all of science. It is the one question that touches on physics, philosophy, and the meaning of existence. Every child who looks up at the stars asks where they came from. Every adult who has stared at the night sky has felt the weight of that question. Perhaps the most humbling answer is simply that we are not yet smart enough to understand. A dog does not understand calculus. A fish does not understand atoms. And maybe the human brain, for all its power, simply cannot grasp the concept of absolute nothing or the absence of time. Maybe the truth is too strange for us to ever fully know. But that does not stop us from trying. That is what makes us human. We look at the darkness before creation and we ask, what was there? We build telescopes and particle colliders and quantum computers to catch a glimpse of the answer. And even if we never find it, the search itself is beautiful. So the next time someone asks you what existed before the Big Bang, you can give them many answers. Nothing. A collapsing universe. Colliding membranes. A quantum fluctuation. Or a timeless block of reality. But the best answer might be this. We do not know yet. And the journey to find out is just beginning. Thank you for watching. If you want to explore more mysteries of the cosmos, hit subscribe. Because the universe is stranger than we can imagine, and we are only just getting started.